Utopia Unfiltered, based on the theme Utopia Simplified, the philosophical foundations of utopian society. We have among us very experienced professor of philosophy department having 38 years of experience in teaching multiple subjects such as philosophy, English, creative writing, and public speaking. He has successfully taught Masters of Philosophy from Northeastern Hill University, and he has been an associate professor, head of the department in philosophy under NEHU. I welcome Mr. Nitish sir, and we have the privilege to host him for today's podcast. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So basically, this podcast is our, beginning of the series जहाँ पे हमारा टॉपिक रहा है यूटोपियन सोसाइटी. तो हमारा कॉलेज प्रोजेक्ट है यूटोपियन सोसाइटी पे, जिसमें हमने सेवरल इंटरव्यूज लिए थे, लोगों से पूछा था यूटोपिया यानी एक परफेक्ट सोसाइटी की इमेजिनेशन करना. तो हमने अभी तक लोगों से पूछा है कि आपकी नज़र में एक परफेक्ट सोसाइटी क्या होती है, बट आज हम इसको इंफॉर्मेटिवली डिकोड करना चाहते हैं, सिंप्लीफाई करना चाहते हैं इस कॉन्सेप्ट को कि यूटोपिया, यूटोपियन सोसाइटी, इसके क्या मायने हैं. तो आज का पॉडकास्ट काफी इंफॉर्मेटिव रहने वाला है उन सभी लोगों के लिए जो जानना चाहते हैं इस कॉन्सेप्ट के बारे में एंड व्हाई आर वी वर्किंग ऑन दिस कॉन्सेप्ट. तो इसमें हमारी हेल्प करेंगे प्रोफेसर नितीश पंडित सर. एंड जल्दी मैं थोड़ा सा बताना चाहूंगी सर कि आपका कैसा एक्सपीरियंस रहा regarding this concept of utopia.
Regarding utopia, actually, I for the first time came to know about this word when I was doing my master's, and I came to know through one of our teacher, renowned teacher. He was an expert on Gandhism, and he told us for the first time that Gandhiji thought about a kingdom, Ram Rajya, जिसको कहते हैं राम राज्य. So, a kingdom where there is no complaint. Everyone is happy. The ruler is happy. The words are happy. So there is no complaint, no problem, no conflict. So he imagined about a world. He thought about that India should one day become a Ram Rajya, an Utopian kingdom. That is the first time I heard about this term. Thereafter, while studying Plato, we had this one paper on Plato. Then I came to know that Plato thought about this concept for the first time in the history. He thought about a state where that is an ideal state. He talked about an ideal state. A state where all human beings are eternally happy. There is no problem. So that is a conceptual state he imagined, because as you know that he belonged to Athens and there were a lot of problems in the those days, this one city states. So he imagined about a Utopian kingdom where everyone is happy and no problems are there. And then he detailed about the concept of Utopian state. Actually, the word utopia, probably in this sense, was not used by Plato also. Probably it has come from one word is o in Greek, another is topos. So no place. If we translate it literally, it becomes topos. No topos. O topos means no place. That means there is no such place as utopia. Utopia is a non-existent state or non-existent society, a non-existent community. In fact, it doesn't exist. And virtually, if we think, it is not possible also. So sometimes we think about, for example, a perfect world. We always imagine about a perfect world. A world which is just like a heaven. For example, we think about heaven. The concept of heaven is there in every religion. So a world where All are happy. There is no war, no conflict of interest, an ideal place in which all aspects of life are met. That is an utopia. And the concept of utopia for the first time was brought into picture by Thomas More, an English gentleman, English writer Thomas More. That was in 1516. And that was the reign of, I think, Henry VIII, most probably. So he was a favorite man of this the king, but there was some problem in between. So he imagined about a state that was a probably island state where all the qualities, human qualities, all the aspirations of human beings are fulfilled. From different angle, it has been elaborated. Now people talks about economic utopia. People talks about religious utopia. People talks about people talk about this one religious utopia, scientific utopia. For even scientific utopia, I think for the first time, Bacon, a philosopher, he talked about scientific utopia. It is nothing but to utilize science for the well-being of human beings in such a way so that human society becomes much more developed. Technological utopia you can use. Economic utopia is there is no this one conglomeration of wealth by a particular group of people. For example, capitalism. Capitalism is against economic utopia. But at present, what we see that after socialism, again capitalism has come into picture. So this is what briefly I understand about utopia. But we can never become perfect. That is what I find.
Maybe because everybody's definition of that perfection is different. That is also a point. Like we just talked about.
Yeah,
Hmm. मेरे लिए
because
फ्रीडम
your
कुछ और है,
utopia,
किसी और के लिए फ्रीडम कुछ और होगी. So that is what.
yeah, that is of course there. But the thing is that utopia, as I said, economic utopia, religious utopia, scientific utopia. So which concept of utopia you are arriving at, and what is your goal? And any kind of utopia, whether it is religious or social or political, ultimately everything is same. Everything, whether social or political, everything will say emerge to the same point.
Sir is
So
saying like we have a say, like we have one goal, and in order to achieve that, we have different aspects. Maybe it could be social, it could be cultural, it could be through political or economic ways, isn't it, sir?
yeah, something like that.
जैसा कि हमने अभी बात किया है सेवरल हिस्टोरिकल बैकग्राउंड का कि कैसे ये टर्म यूटोपिया हम सबके बीच आया और कैसे इसका इवोल्यूशन भी हुआ है विद टाइम एंड सबके लिए कैसे यूटोपिया के डेफिनेशंस एंड प्रिंसिपल्स अलग हैं. नाउ व्हेन आई टॉक अबाउट प्रिंसिपल्स, आई वांट दैट आवर ऑडियंस शुड बी अवेयर of what kind of philosophical principles underpinned by utopian visions. So let us understand some principles of utopia society. So could you please help us with that?
Sure. Actually, almost all utopian visions, all, I say all because there should not be any exception. So all the visions of utopia, that is all utopian visions, are basically grounded on some core philosophical principles. And all these core philosophical principles are well known. These are justice, equality, freedom, solidarity, etc., etc. These are the basic fundamental principles. And all philosophical utopian visions are based on that.
Yes, truly. Now, what I believe that if we take such principles of justice, freedom, and equality, these are principles rooted in philosophy. So, my next follow up question is that if we apply these principles in our real life scenarios, how can it lead to and to what extent it can inspire positive societal changes? That is the ultimate motive of utopian society. So I want to discuss how these principles can align us to the path of utopian society. Can you elaborate on that?
Huh. Utopian ideals, which envision an ideal society that is often characterized by, for example, harmony, equality, prosperity, can inspire and drive the societal changes in several ways. Actually, there are many ways. For example, vision and inspiration. Utopian ideals provide a vision of what society could be at its best, the possible best society. Without having any goal, we cannot achieve anything. So, goal is set, and that goal is utopian ideals. The utopian ideals set standards for society to strive towards. There is a standard that this is a standard, this is what we want to achieve.
I want to get
For
back
example, in
to
ethics,
the first point. Sorry to interfere. Like, first point, we read
yeah,
about vision and inspiration. Now, when we talk about
yeah,
vision, as there is mentioned that individuals, so I want to know if that vision is individual vision, like my vision is something different, which I anticipate from my nation, or it is a collective vision that we as citizens of India think about a vision, a broad vision. So, how do we divide that line? Is it कि वो इंडिविजुअल विजन है हमारा या कलेक्टिव हम एक कम्युनिटी को लेकर एक विजन डिसाइड कर रहे हैं?
huh. If vision actually develops in individuals, then they form a community. They all of them come together to think alike. They discuss that this is the vision and this is the goal. This is a standard. With this standard, with this goal, we can achieve this goal. This is both individual and community wise, because individual cannot bring an utopia.
Yes.
So it has to be a community.
Yeah.
So starts with an individual and it encompasses all the like-minded people together. So all these movements are started by some people, but it ultimately became a community movement.
Yeah. At the end, we require mass, participation to make it
Yeah,
successful. Because one individual cannot lead to a desired goal. We need masses.
yeah, that is a must, because all utopian ideals can utopian ideals not only inspire the people, it also inspires some policy, government decisions, government structures. They can shape, they can develop laws, regulations, they can bring changes in everything. Okay.
So basically, we saw many, principles or systems like from ethics to technological innovation to cultural shapes to, even shaping policies. Utopian society or the concept of utopian society has been central towards these, uh, innovations. This was something new that I gathered today, that even technological innovations are also inspired by utopian ideals. And I
Yeah.
didn't know that even at that time when philosophers, जब उनको ये टर्म यूटोपिया भी समझ आया था तब भी वो इतनी एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजिकल इनोवेशंस के बारे में सोच रहे थे. टर्म्स लाइक सस्टेनेबिलिटी which is new to India, new
Yeah.
to this generation. Now we are talking about sustainability, but our philosophers, उन्होंने long back ही इस term के बारे में they have been thinking and putting, you know, some goals कि हमें ऐसे achieve करना है. That is something new that I gathered today. So, okay, let's move ahead and let us now further understand. Uh, since childhood, while we are at school, even in college, we read about philosophers like Plato, Aristotle, Kant, even Indian philosophers, and that's how we should understand. मैं जानना चाहूंगी कि how philosophers can, help us design better systems for the future. How philosophy and philosophers can create that utopian world around us, जिसमें we can learn and grow together.
In fact, the utopian ideals or the visions and all these visionaries, anyone who is a visionary, who think about the future, a better future, a more successful future, is a visionary, is a philosopher.
So maybe
Now
we
I can
can
call
say
Rabindra
our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, is he a visionary? We can say.
Prime Minister. No, in that sense, it is not. Actually, it has to be something more than that. A visionary and a philosopher, there is a difference. Because philosophers play a very, very, very crucial role in society by helping us design a very a better system. They help us in designing a better system for the future by offering critical analysis, ethical frameworks, deep reflection on the these fundamental principles that underpin our societies. So that cannot be done by a politician. Okay, I do not say that a politician cannot be a visionary. There are so many visionaries. I do not deny to this question that whether Narendra Modi is a visionary or not. He may be a visionary, but what a philosopher does is a totally different thing. Karl Marx, before this his philosophy what developed, he saw the discrimination between rich and poor, and this discrimination. How can we get out of this? What are the ways? What are the paths? What are the this one channels through which we can get out of this one? So in that one, in that way, he's a visionary. So the insights, the philosophers have insights. Their insights can inform the policymakers, inform the stakeholders and the public in shaping better systems for the future. That is what Socrates used to do. In Plato's Republic, what we find is that only. Whatever Socrates used to develop, he did not develop it from himself. He simply used to ask questions. That, for example, what is justice? What is right? What is wrong? People used to answer that this is right. Then he used to correct them. No, this is not the correct answer. This should be the correct answer. Actually, the answer is known to you. I won't give the answer. Answer is known to you. And the path or the way a philosopher shows is already known to the people, already known to the policymakers, the stakeholders. The philosophers only show them the path, that this is what will happen if you do this, if you do not do this. All right.
Yes, I completely agree. And now we know why and how philosophers can make a change, and why there's a very important responsibility on philosophers to drive social movements, to drive policy recommendations, to aware public, to give very detailed insights, and even predict what can be done right to the society. So that was a wholesome discussion on
Okay.
how philosophy can bring about a change and how philosophers can contribute to a social perspective.
Okay.
Moving, so we right now discussed how philosophers can help us design better systems for the future, and we noted that through ethical principles, through policy making recommendations, through critical thinking, we can develop a society which is utopian. Now moving on to a further discussion, मैं चाहूंगी कि हम बात करें कि we as individuals, because I understand all of us cannot be philosophers, and we are humans who are trying to be the best versions of ourselves. But considering the fact that if our goal is to achieve a utopian society, so I want to understand what are the potential sacrifices required to reach that utopian society.
Acha. Actually, is to my opinion, utopia, if it is at all possible, comes at a very terrible price. Very terrible price. It comes at a price of individual freedom, individual choice, and many human lives. Any utopian kingdom, any utopian faith or this vision for which people had to pay a lot. It is not so easy. As we know that without sacrifice, nothing can be achieved in life. But sacrifices, in case of utopia, sacrifices are entailed in any form of utopia, depending on the type of utopia you're pursuing. What kind of utopia you're pursuing? The first sacrifice is, as I said, individual freedom. If you are a member of an utopian kingdom, individual freedom is gone. You have to sacrifice your individual freedom to the society, to the community. For the sake of harmony and equality in society, actually, since you belong to a society, belong to a community, so the harmony and equality in the society is more important for you than your individual freedom, than your individual freedom of expression, freedom of choice. All these things needs to be sacrificed. And for the greater interest of the society, certain personal ambitions, certain personal desires, that has to be sacrificed. So in any utopian society, individual autonomy or individual independence, all has to be sacrificed. So it comes at a very high price, very terrible price. This is what I believe.
Yeah. When we were discussing this concept, one thought that came to my mind was, if utopia is all about everything good, then things like the negative things like war, crime, hatred, jealousy, insecurity, all these social evils that we have around us, so they can never be, I am sure they won't be part of utopian ideals. But as we talked about, that if maybe, let's say, the war between Russia and Ukraine, Russia thinks that their vision is to, win over Ukraine. So their vision of war is justified for Russia, but not for the rest of the world. I want to understand that अगर utopia is all about positive things, then किसी के लिए war भी positive कहला रहा है, किसी के लिए war एक destruction है. So where to find that line?
So मैं जो कह रहा था, so it is highly personal, highly subjective. It depends on your individuality, your background, socio-economic, cultural background, religious background. इस पर depend करता है. It depends on. And even though the perfect society has eluded, nobody has achieved it. No one, no utopian visionary has achieved any such goal. It has always been eluding. But people did not stop. They kept on trying, finding, generating, creating newer and newer utopia. The problem with utopia is that it does not exist at all. It is a non-existent, outopos, no place. There is nothing called utopia. Practically, it's not possible. It never has and it never will. At least not by human standards and by the human being. This is what I believe. Utopia is not possible at all. This is only possible in imagination.
Okay. On that note, I think we all are disappointed that utopia cannot be achieved in practical terms. But I think it gives us an opportunity to think of those ideals and at least work progressively towards, good ideals, idea of equality, justice, freedom. I think this inspires the world we live in. And while we achieve or thrive to achieve this utopia, I think we'll progress in these years. Now,
Yeah,
on that note, yeah,
that is what actually we have been failing again and again, but people did not stop.
yeah,
We keep on trying, finding better and better utopia. This one, setting newer and newer goals. So anyway, thank you.
yeah. Thank you so much for being here and enlightening us with such a complex concept it was when we were not part of this meeting, and now it has become a cakewalk, and now we truly understand what we are aiming at, what is utopia. We have got a, very insightful discussion on utopia, and I think this will help our viewers to know what exactly we are doing and what exactly is the concept of utopia and utopian society. Thank you, Professor Nitish, sir.